So, Boys Planet 2 is coming, and I, self-proclaimed Produce 101 extraordinaire, have decided to talk about it, because some things just need to be talked about. But actually, I have spent more than needed time watching videos, more specifically video essays. They're kind of like video essays. I don't know, if you're using like a robot voice or an automated voice to talk for you in your videos, I automatically don't want to watch that because I don't know, it just doesn't hit for me. But I stuck it through for a few of them. I was like, okay, sure. But I watched a lot of videos about Boys Planet and just topics surrounding it, but none of them do it for me. I feel like there is something that people are avoiding talking about, and for me that is everything that was wrong with Boys Planet. And maybe there is a video out there that I just haven't seen, or maybe people have thought about this, nobody's moved to make an entire video essay about it. I mean, this is a lot of work. I am doing this, and I'm just like, you have to have a lot of time on your hands and push and passion to talk to yourself for about like an hour and a half or whatever. But here I am. I just have to talk about it. I even have an entire notion that I spent 7 months working on, which sounds like a lot, but I was really passionate about it because I just wanted to talk about it. I don't know, but we're just gonna go through it, like everything that I consider to be wrong with Boys Planet and how it affected the outcome of it. Now, I will give a disclaimer. Everything I'm saying is subjective, of course. I'm not that kind of person that says I'm right, you're wrong. This is a place where everyone can share their opinions freely. I'm just kind of talking and I'm just throwing bait out there for people, see if anybody grabs onto it. And yeah. So now that that's over, let's get into it. The first thing that Mnet did wrong with Boys Planet, and this is kind of like 50-50 because it was marketing. December 25th, I have the exact date. This is Christmas Day. The Boys Planet Twitter account posts 4 trainees and introduces them as the shiny boys chosen by the trainees. Put that in quotation marks because we're like, what are shiny boys? What the fuck is that? But apparently, allegedly, these were the trainees that the others just thought were the most handsome. Or maybe they just like them, like maybe maybe they were their friends or whatever, who knows. And this concept isn't foreign to survival shows. It's usually like a segment in survival shows towards the middle, and it's just like thrown in for fun. During Produce 101 Season 2, they aired this segment like during an elimination. So it's like, something fun. But they don't do this during Boys Planet. It is pre-show, which is like, okay. But you're probably wondering, what is wrong with this? And once again, it's 50-50, but to put it in short, this is technically not fair. And I'm the last person to care about fairness. I mean, I'm watching a K-pop survival show. It's like corrupt and rigged or whatever, but this has not been done before. And objectively, it's not very fair. These pictures of these 4 trainees called the Shiny Boys come out 4 days before the actual signal song, like the theme song of the show, which is the main attraction of the show. We don't even have that yet, but we have these pictures of the Shiny Boys. And we knew who these 4 people were first, and it gives them an advantage. I myself had one of them as my profile picture. I didn't even know who he was, and I put him as my profile picture just because I thought he was cute. Like, that's an advantage. And it's a marketing tactic. It worked pretty well. But was it fair? No, it was not fair. It would kind of make more sense for them to do this in the case that the trainees had earned some type of incentive to get these solo posters before the show aired, but no, it was just a visual ranking vote, and yeah, that's it. But anyway, that is the first thing that I feel like starts this season off wrong. And I assume that they just did this to get people to watch. I mean, if you see handsome men in fluorescent lighting, maybe you'll be more inclined to watch a survival show with that same concept as that scammy series from a few years ago with a different name. But yeah, anyway. All right. I scrolled through my Notion. The second mess up of Boys Planet was the concept of the show. So just for reference, and if you're here, I'm assuming that you know what the Produce 101 series is. If you don't, it was just what Boys Planet was before Boys Planet. But the theme of Boys Planet is K versus G, meaning Korean trainees versus global trainees, which is basically every other ethnicity that was on the show. And this was pretty unnecessary, and it only just made people mad throughout the show, honestly. And it really only matters for the first 4 episodes, and where it impacts the most is like through the first round, because they made the Korean trainee groups go against the global trainee groups or whatever, and yeah, it's just not good. It's just not good. And Mnet and K-pop survival shows in general don't have a very good like track record of being very accepting to different races and ethnicity. An entire show based off of K versus G, because K-pop is global now, and they're like, this is a good idea. Obviously, it's not, but it's pretty unfair. Basically, like the first round, they had global trainees on one team versus the Korean trainees. I already said that, but the problem with this was that they put together the global trainees who first off don't speak Korean and possibly speak up to 4 different languages, because they could have a Chinese guy on their team, they could have a Japanese guy, someone who speaks English, maybe someone even speaks Thai. Like there's a lot going on, and communication is a very big part of the first round of the show. Like, communicating with your team, trying to learn choreography, who gets what part, etc., etc. When you all speak different languages and don't have a translator who speaks all of them, like who's just carrying around a translator who speaks 500 languages, nobody, they were set up to fail. But they prevailed through this as best as they could, as best as we know as the watchers who don't see everything. But yeah, and all of the produced seasons have always featured foreign contestants, not to this extent, but they were there. It was just, not the same. So why not just let all of them compete against each other on an even playing field? Like, it could have just been Boys Planet, and with all of these foreign trainees competing alongside the Korean trainees. I think that would have been fine if they did that. It didn't have to be, let's separate them and see who is better. It wasn't fair. The first round of Boys Planet, called the K versus G group battle, ended with every Korean team winning except for one. So this resulted in a lot of global trainees being eliminated and rising resentment in fans, obviously. Okay. Reading my Notion, I have a section called episode 3 and 4. I won't talk about all of it, but here I'm talking about what happened before the first round, where they're doing like the signal song challenge or whatever. I wanted to categorize this as the third mess up, and honestly, since I'm talking about it, let's just consider it the third mess up. But I put a note that says I won't, because you could just say that this is how K-pop has moved to a streaming era that's all about views and sales, and I kind of sound like an old head, but whatever. I wanted to explain how it worked in Produce 101 Season 2 versus Boys Planet Season 1. So in Produce 101, the first round worked very similarly to this, except the advantage to pick your team first was given to who was voted as the center for the signal song, not who got the most views on their fan cam, because, it's 2017, we don't care about views on fan cams. But after that, who got to choose their team next was up to a random draw. Like, they were pulling like balls out of a bag, I think, and drawing like random names. So this made the teams that were formed slightly more unique, perhaps. We don't know everything, but we're just going with it. The person who was randomly drawn still got the advantage to choose who was on their team, but there was the scenario that they could have been a trainee nobody really knew or considered to be as talented, so it wasn't as predictable who they were going to choose to be on their team. This is where you see the frontrunners and the future members of ZB1 kind of click up, which isn't a foreign concept either. All past produced groups and Kepler are made up of members who were frequently like seen together and on the same team during their time on the shows. Like, it's just bound to happen. It's almost like a free trial to see how group chemistry would look like. And I kind of see why I said this is not really a mess up, but it's kind of just like basing an incentive off of fan cam views. Like, it's kind of messy, but and they don't have the random draw as a concept anymore. I feel like that would have been much more fair, or made the teams a little less predictable, but it is what it is. Okay, episode 5 and 6. This round is called the dual position battle, and it featured 3 categories. You could either choose rap and dance, vocal and rap, or vocal and dance. You're like choosing songs to showcase 2 of these skills. Like, if you're a rapper and like a good dancer, of course you're gonna go to rap and dance, but if you're more of a vocalist and a dancer, you can go to vocal and dance. And of course, this was a normal concept. They all did this in produced seasons, like a position thing, show out what you're the best at, show off what you're the best at. But however, Boys Planet was very dramatic, to say the least, so I wanted to do a quick comparison how Produce worked, and we're using our goated Season 2 season Basically, in Produce 101 Season 2, for the second round, by rank, each trainee would choose a song before even seeing who's a part of the team. Once the team was filled up, the song would disappear as an option. I have that underlined because this is really important. Was it unfair? Sure. You know, if you're a low rank, you're gonna get to choose late. So you're probably wondering, how did Boys Planet work? In Boys Planet, the trainees once again chose songs by rank, but this time it went from lowest rank to highest rank, meaning that if you were ranked 60, you chose your song first. They were also able to see all of the songs and all of the choices everyone made before even choosing a team to be a part of. This is primarily a thing because trainees were given the ability to push other trainees out of a team and take their spot instead. And once again, I can recognize this as a marketing tactic. Like, drama makes people watch. Like I said, hate watching is very strong thing. However, this only benefited the frontrunners again. Now, popular trainees will just be popular no matter what. That's something a lot of people have a hard time accepting. But there were trainees that were also popular that got the short end of the stick here. Mnet attempted to give all of these teams a chance to shine, as some were really emotional and even, some of them were like shading Mnet. But in the end, they don't get the benefit. Nothing really benefits them. It kind of feels like they worked hard for nothing because the teams with the frontrunners always won. Okay, I have something kind of controversial to talk about. I didn't call this a mess up. It's just kind of something that impacts this fandom, I would say, and it's Howin. If you like ZB1, you obviously know what Howin is. If you don't like ZB1, you might know what Howin is. You might have thought that was the name of a member of ZB1 and not two separate people in a K-pop ship. But Howin goes mainstream, and I like to call this the worst and best thing to happen. So basically, Howin, which consists of How and Hanbin, two trainees on Boys Planet at the time, and they're both the respective centers of each group. Howin being shipped together goes back to the very beginning of the show when the Here I Am performance was released. They've probably had shippers since that very day. Having more than one center was only a thing that started, well, I'm like thinking of Produce 48, but I'm not exactly sure how that worked. Like, okay, I don't know. But, having two centers was done in Girls Planet, but it wasn't like this. And listen to that with emphasis. It wasn't like this. I think the most standout part was How and Hanbin having a duo part in the choreography of the theme song while everyone just kind of walks around them. This was something that wasn't done before. I don't know how to explain it, guys. It just wasn't done before. And their duo choreography was it was nice. It was kind of, I won't even talk about it. But anyway, the first month of Boys Planet, you wouldn't exactly know that How and Hanbin were close because it wasn't shown very heavily. They were in different teams, different groups. Their interactions, the ones that they did have, were just kind of okay, they'd be nice friends. That's what the average viewer at the time would probably think about that. In March, the show is still filming. We're kind of midway through the show. Something happens, and nothing is ever the same since. How and Hanbin were caught blowing kisses to each other. It's obviously lighthearted, it's cute, it's a joke. And this is during the dance battle. If you don't know, I'll put pictures in here. And I feel this is when it becomes a real big thing. People are oh, we like that. And now personally, I'll just put my personal opinion in here for a little bit. I would say you haven't gotten the full experience of being in any fandom if you haven't dabbled in shipping in some shape or form. I'm not gonna say shipping two boys together. If you haven't done that, you're just lame. We accept all kind of shipping here, but this is what made people aware of them. A week and a half later, Howin is absolutely never the same. Boys Planet fans are never the same. Future ZB1 fans are never the same. Hanbin was shown giving How a massage in the dorm, and I can't remember what part of the show or what the I don't know what the relevance of this was. During the tomboy segment of the show, a team that both of them were on together, Hanbin has some sort of breakdown, and they show him being comforted by How. And you think, okay, maybe they'll show them hugging and patting each other on the back or saying something nice to each other, but no, we get a segment of How wandering into a laundry room that Hanbin is supposedly in already. Then it cuts to Hanbin giving How a massage. I don't know, I guess it's just up for, personal opinion if this is a mess up or not. Rewatching it 2 years later, all I could think of was, why was that shown? it felt kind of random and out of place when I rewatched it. At the time, I was definitely eating it up. Like, I was like, yes, yes. But when I watched it 2 years later, I'm kind of like, why was that shown? And let's break this down. Like, duos and K-pop shipping have always been intertwined into survival shows, specifically into Produce, especially with the two-pig voting system that always happens towards the end. So it's important to have, like, a chemistry partner, whatever. But, this segment, this scene of the show is something that you would you wouldn't really see this. I don't know. It was it was very specific. It was very interesting. But yeah, this is where Howin were at a point of no return. I don't even think them themselves knew how much this would impact the fandom. And it keeps going on from there. Hanbin said himself that he chose to be on the tomboy team because he wanted to perform with How. Nobody else commented like this on their fan cams or anything. Nobody really singled out a trainee that they wanted to perform with. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with him doing this, but it's like, okay, Howin, they would choose each other. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like they would choose each other. So Howin started a thing. They started a thing. I wrote down what Howin started was ha 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 ha. Like, I couldn't even say it. I don't think it would be foolish to say that their relationship shown on the show influenced other trainees to find someone to be close to. Like, I don't think it would be ridiculous to say that at all. Granted, it didn't work with everyone because, there's a chance that you're not even shown with your friend, your best friend, or whatever. But, some people, they gave it a good whack at it. Like, some of the fans even, started pushing duos that they wanted to see debut. Once again, not a foreign concept, just kind of very important to the Boys Planet series. And I feel like that was a mistake. But it's fine. It's fine. We're moving on. We get to the concept rounds. This is when what they do after another elimination. There's about like 30-ish people left. And this is the part where trainees perform original songs. Like, Mnet pulls all these producers and they make songs for the trainees, and it's like a really fun part of the show. It's actually kind of my favorite. But in Boys Planet, the trainees were given the ability to tell fans what song they wanted to be put in. And we would get to vote every trainee into a team. So it was a team voting strategy, kind of like almost like having a 5-pick, but I don't know. It was just kind of like, why? Because for this in the past, like this concept round during Produce 101, you would get penalized for telling the fans what team you wanted to be into. And also, it was kind of just like up to the trainees to get put into teams. Actually, I mean, I think like the initial team formation was fan voted, but then the trainees ultimately decide. All of the frontrunners go for Say My Name as their concept song of choice. And this is also not a foreign thing of all like the frontrunners trying to get into one song. Like, that's happened before, and it's usually like the Avengers team, quote unquote Avengers team. All of the top 9, not all of them, but like half, more than half of the top 9 saying they wanted a song together. We're just kind of watching that like, why? And it was a song that didn't really seem like it would suit most of them. That's a personal opinion though. But anyway, what I'm calling the 5th mess up is basically the drama that they show happening on the Say My Name team. If you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, just listen if you don't. The Say My Name team in particular is having this problem, right? It's a group full of trainees who are all in the top 9 except for one, and during their feedback sessions, the people are just kind of like, this is trash, like, what are you guys doing, etc., etc. It's kind of like, we've seen it before. People always do that. Like, you think a group full of high-ranking trainees is going to be, like, really good. Like, the expectations for them are super high. And then it gets, like, you show them they're not the best. You know, it happens. We go from there. During their segment, they are going over the line distribution, right? And there's suddenly this squabble. I want to call it that because it's like barely a fight. It's really, anyway, there's like this argument over who is subvocal 1. In parentheses, I have yes, they're fighting over that. And after rewatching the entire thing, mind you, this came out about 2 years ago, literally over 2 years ago, and I was rewatching it, and the entire thing was just kind of like everyone tag teaming Matthew. I'm sure you guys know who he is, Sock Matthew. If you don't, I'll put a picture of him here. But the team is just kind of like tag teaming him. I guess you could say it went both ways, kind of. Like, the thing was, Matthew wanted to keep sub-vocal 1, his original part that was assigned to him, and basically they just kind of like, I can't remember if they like heard him sing it and they were just like no, or if they didn't even like let him hold on to it at all. They're just like no, like this doesn't suit you or whatever. But basically that's what the fight is over. He wants to keep sub-vocal 1. The rest of the team is like, give it to someone else. And at the time, this was like a huge thing, and everyone seemed to be against Matthew. That was how the fandom was kind of reacting, because I guess he was seen as greedy or whatever. But watching it 2 years later, I was like, I would literally react the same way if I were him. Like, everybody just jumping you and saying, give up your sub-vocal 1. Like, this is not even a big part to begin with. Like, all of the big parts are already given out, but he can't even keep on, he can't even hang on to his sub-vocal 1. But at the time, everybody saw it as an overreaction from him kind of being like a drama queen, and it was just really bad. It was really bad. But I will say I'm Team Matthew for this one. This is the beginning of the divide between solo fandoms for the future fandom of ZB1. It's kind of doomed from the start, really. A lot of people just begin to not like the members, the trainees, like some hold grudges towards them. It goes both ways. I'm trying to be as neutral as possible between this, but it was just ridiculous. I feel like if they did not show this segment on the show, I know that they're just like kind of like drama fishing, but if they didn't show this segment, a lot of things would have been different. So it is a mistake in my opinion. So we're at like the finale of the show, or we're the week of the finale of the show, and to talk about this mess up, we have to kind of go back to the beginning of the show, actually. So this is what I'm calling the 6th mess up. Before the show was even, I don't know if it started before this date, but this news article was posted on February 24th of 2023. That was either like right before the first episode started or right after it aired. Basically, they revealed that the final first place out of 9 finalists in the debut group will be given the killing part of the debut song and a huge benefit of having a solo song included in the debut. In my notion, I put, do I even need to explain why this was a terrible idea? Here's the thing. Whoever ranks first is obviously going to get treated as the sinner. That's how it's been in all the past survival shows, but for Boys Planet in particular, it was very straightforward. While compared to the other seasons, it was something that was kind of unsaid. It wasn't really touched on upon. Like, of course, if you won first, you were going to be the sinner in the face of the group, but to have a solo song on a rookie group's debut EP, it was not a good idea. It was a mess up. It was attracting rabid solo fans. Boys Planet was out to manufacture a group that could only attract solo fans. One thing I can stand on for this, I won't call this a mess up. I know I'm talking about mess ups and mistakes or whatnot, but it's just like something to think about. If you're watching the finale in real time, you're probably like on the verge of like freaking out, because it's crazy. But let's talk about a few things first. In every Produce 101 season and in Girls Planet, the finale usually begins with the MC showing who the candidates are for the last spot in the group. Now, in a way, this is rigging, in parentheses I put encouraging, because it makes people panic vote for the shown trainees, and this could possibly get them into the group, and sometimes it usually results in both of those trainees making it into the group and knocking someone else out. Now, Boys Planet, on the other hand, did not do this, and I did consider that maybe it was because of the circumstances and they were trying to get the live stream done as fast as possible and be less insensitive than they already were, but they did not do this. And it was weird because Boys Planet fans were literally fantasizing about this exact moment where the candidates for last place were going to be shown. Like, they would be tweeting, what are you guys doing if this is what we see on finale night, etc., but it doesn't even happen. So for the parts of the finale where they're showing them preparing for their stages, I can't speak for everyone, but a lot of us were kind of just like sitting there waiting for the ranking. Like, personally, I didn't even care about the final performances that much, just because I wanted to know what the ranking was going to be. We were going into it blind. Nobody really had an idea of what it would be. Of course you did, because the final lineup was a bit predictable. I know a lot of people say that, but at the same time, we didn't know. So without any knowledge of this, it made people panic vote even harder than before, maybe, or maybe not. They closed the voting like pretty fast and said nothing about it. This made some of us think that the producers were just waiting for a lineup that looked good enough to them to finally close it. This would explain why the ranking came out in the order that it did, because once again, who made it into the group wasn't really a surprise, but the order of the ranks was kind of weird. It's not like it matters or anything, but here's how it went. It went from 8 to 3. It goes Jihoon, Howin, Tere, Gunnar, Ricky, and Matthew. Those are from 8 to 3. Hanbin and Hao are called as candidates for first place, of course. They start crying and kissing each other, but it's a big moment. I'm sure there's like 800 different angles and fan cams of what happened during that time. So, but the one thing that makes you kind of like scratch your head is Yujin. He is called for last place, which doesn't really make sense at the time because he is by far, if not the most popular trainee in Korea at the time. If anyone remembers, if anyone was there, or let me just tell you, the entire venue was chanting Yujin's name for every rank before he was actually called. Like for 8, they were chanting Yujin. For 7, 6, 5, they were chanting Yujin, but Yujin's name isn't called yet. So we're kind of sitting there like, if this group does not have this little boy in here, they're going to shut down the show. So it was kind of weird. And he eventually gets called for 9, but it just felt kind of off. If I had to put Boys Planet on a scale with all the other producing Planet shows, personally it's ranking bottom tier for me. There's not much shock value with the lineup, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because at the time I did like the lineup, but for people who didn't watch the show live, and let's say they just like binge it all in one go, they get to the finale and sees that this is the lineup, they'd probably say that that's what they expected. The top 9 does not change at all throughout the show. We have sort of dark horses in Matthew. He ranked like 56 pre-show before skyrocketing to top 9. And we have Gunnak and Ricky, but Gunnak and Ricky were always at least ranking above 20 for the entire show. Yeah, watching it in real time was fun and much better and drama-filled, but I wouldn't rewatch the show in my own time. With the Produce 101 seasons, I love rewatching them for some reason, and I know that those are rigged shows, however, but they're really fun to watch. I would not rewatch Boys Planet. It's been 2 years, so I think it's fair to say that I wouldn't rewatch it. I just wouldn't. And I saw some people reviewing it, and I guess they were late fans who weren't there in 2023, but someone said, honestly, this is literally what they said, in quotes, honestly, I found the show so endearing. They did a really great job of making you root for the boys. This person is saying that Boys Planet was predictable and swayed you to like the frontrunners and no one else. And that's literally what they just said. And there's also another mess up. It's the very, very last mess up. Well, there's actually some other mess ups, but I call it the elephant in the room because nobody really saw it as a problem until maybe even this year. But there are 4 trainees under the same company in ZB1. And it basically kills all delusion about a project group being anything beyond the contract because their company is probably going to want them back. Back in Produce days, there was always this kind of unspoken of company max on the members in each group. Like they would only let 2 members from the same company debut in the final group together because if there's like 4 people from the same company in one group, it's like gonna be weird. Overall, I think the impact and outcome of Boys Planet lingers on ZB1 and their fandom for the worse. Like that's just my opinion. The fans that come out of survival shows have always been more solo stand leaning compared to like a regular K-pop group, but with ZB1 it gets pretty ugly really quick and at times very bad. Very, very bad, in my opinion. But yeah. So, I have a sort of like 8th mess up, but it has to do with like, I guess, you know, after Boys Planet, kind of sort of, even though it was set during Boys Planet. So, during like the middle of the show, I think, I couldn't really find the exact month that they set this, Mnet basically declares that the debut group, ZB1, would be the start of 5th generation K-pop. This made sense because usually generations are for 5 to 6, 7-ish years. 4th gen was going on its 5th at the time. However, the shifting of generations is usually marked by something significant happening and not a broadcasting company just saying so because they're running a survival show that like 0.2% of South Korea is watching. That's not very good. But for example, like 4th gen, K-pop is usually tied to COVID-19 and how K-pop transitioned during that time. Some blog I read said that 4th gen is where groups started sampling songs and releasing quote-unquote noise music, but, you know, it's whatever. I think a lot of people just consider how old current groups are getting as well when thinking of generation shifting. But in April 2023, when the show wraps up and ZB1 are now officially a group, fourth generation is definitely still going strong. I think it would have made sense to keep fourth gen alive for another year, but no, Mnet pushes this idea that I guess somehow sticks, because they are calling groups 5th gen K-pop now, but they say that no, like 2023 is the start of 5th gen K-pop, and they want ZB1 to be the leaders of the new generation and mark a shift, possibly reviving the era of boy groups doing well in Korea again. But I just think it was not good. It was not a good marketing thing, because it placed a bunch of high expectations for ZB1 before they could even settle in, before they were even a real group, before they even debuted. It was a mistake. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If anybody else likes talking about Produce 101, like a broken record like me, like just let me know. Comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see from there. Thanks!